Welcome to the Grace for the Unlovable podcast, where you can share your story judgment-free. We are here to guide you down the road to redemption and restoration. Remember, healing comes when secrets are shared in safe spaces. Now, here are your hosts, Anthony and Melissa.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Grace for the Unlovable podcast. I am your host, Anthony.
Hello, I'm your co-host, Melissa.
We are happy that you have joined us tonight for episode 18. Can you believe we've done 18 of these, Melissa?
Yes.
It seems to me some days like we've done 100, and then some days it seems like we've barely started. But yes, we are definitely on episode 18. So we're towards the end of season 1. We'll have 24 episodes in season 1. So we're getting there, and we've learned a lot about who our original audience was, how it's kind of morphed, and definitely the types of correspondence that we're getting. And we love it all because we're just trying to help anybody who feels unlovable, whether it's an internal struggle, whether they've been busted or outed or exposed, and society has deemed them unlovable, however they got there. Sometimes it's not even something they did. It's just something they're associated with. So if you are new to the podcast, that's what we do. We're a safe place, judgment-free, where you could tell your story and just get some support. And if you are a non-believer, we just ask that you remember that we are a Christian-based podcast, but we welcome everybody. But we will, use a lot of Christian language. We pray for people and try to lead them to grace, which comes from Jesus Christ. And we definitely believe that healing comes when secrets are shared in safe spaces. And so that is what we are, a safe space.
Yep.
And so before we get to tonight's episode, just listen to this real quick. Before we get to tonight's episode, let's hit you with a quick disclaimer. Although I practiced as a licensed therapist and an ordained minister, this podcast is not a substitute for clinical advice. This is not therapy. This podcast is for prayer and emotional support only. If you feel like you're going to harm yourself or others, please call 911 or reach out by text or phone to 988. This podcast is anonymous for a reason. We're not here to judge you or incriminate you. Please keep the names of anybody you've harmed out of your story. Oh, and if you're not remorseful, you're not ready for this podcast. Just reach out to us at a different time when you're ready to make some changes. Now, let's get ready for this episode of the Grace for the Unlovable podcast. In tonight's episode, we're going to kind of go in depth into the concept of shame. We've done this before, but we try to come at it from different angles and just try to really, I guess, hit it home that shame is a cancer. It will literally destroy you if you allow it to kind of just be, it's insidious. It kind of infects you to where it'll cause you to either take your life or to, ruin your life in some way. It is, I believe, designed by the enemy. Some Christian people like to debate that, people need to feel shame so they could change. No, people need to feel guilt from something they did to change. Shame is a whole other thing. It is a way to destroy a person from the inside out. And it's pretty easy to do. I would say that every human we meet, Melissa, has some area of their life where they still carry shame. Something you did in the past, something that you would be afraid if people knew, even if it was done to you. And so we keep, kind of secrets, right? I've always kind of joked, and we've talked about this before, but like when you go on a date, it is the biggest scam on planet Earth, right? So if you meet a new guy or I meet a new woman in our past, we've always kind of just, you put on your best self, you put on your best clothes, you put on your best makeup. you know what cologne, whatever you do, but
Mhm.
even more in depth, because that's how it starts, but even more in depth, the conversations are all built to keep you liking me,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I'm not going to go on a date and just say, kind of, here's the deal, right? Now, I joke with that because when Melissa and I met, that's exactly what I did.
Right. I
I
was gonna
just
say
said,
it does
here is
change.
everything. But that took years and
Years.
years, failed marriages, stuff like that. You get to a place where you're like, I'm too
Oh,
old
right.
to be horsing around. So
Mhm.
you're either going to like me or you're not, but I'm not going to do that. But and I would say even then I worded it in a way that would be more acceptable than if I just said it maybe the way that I wanted to. So it's a scam.
Mhm.
And our relationships are always that. There's also that joke too when people say, "How are you doing?"
Right.
You're supposed to say fine and keep walking. You're not
Mhm.
supposed to stop and to actually tell them how you're doing, because it's just a greeting. It's not an invitation to hear your garbage.
Mhm.
And so there are not a lot of places where you can just talk about your stuff. And so we're taught to hold secrets,
Mhm.
especially if something was done to us. And if we're real honest, like it's pretty socially awkward unless
Mhm.
the situation is exactly right for you to tell your stuff.
Mhm.
And so it just becomes human nature to be mysterious.
Mhm.
And that is where we believe the enemy works.
Mhm.
And shame, coming from some big thing that you did, is the beginning of the end if you don't know how to handle it. And because it's not a conversation that all of us have, and because it's not a mainstream topic, most of us have to wrestle with shame by ourselves. And when we finally do reach out, it's
Mhm.
awkward because it's just not a common thing. So, kind of what we're trying to do here
Mhm.
is make it a more common thing to talk about your shame. And the
Mhm.
best way to do that is anonymous
Right.
with a
And
bunch of
just free.
strangers,
Mhm.
kind of like AA in a way, because you could walk into an AA room and be yourself because everybody in there is kind of in the same boat.
Mhm.
But you can't go to a board meeting at your company and say, by the way, let's all talk about our problems.
Mhm.
It's just not the right place. And so we're trying to create that space. Now, let's take shame a little deeper. Okay. So if we all have something that we have shame about, and it's this stigma that we're worried about, what would be the repercussions of people knowing? And this is that balance, Melissa, because
Mhm.
I think in most cases, it would not be as bad as you
As you
think it
think.
would be.
Mhm.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, in some cases, it may actually be worse than
Mhm.
you expect. It won't be received at all.
Mhm.
So, like, what's that phrase, turd in the punch bowl? Like, you could, y- y-
I've never heard of that, but
yeah, like it would ruin the party, right? so,
yeah.
so like if you brought up something like ridiculous,
Mhm.
you would lose friends,
Mhm.
even though friendship is supposed to be about that, right? And so some of us, if we're blessed or if we're lucky, we have somebody that we could just say, hey, here's the good, bad, and the ugly. Um, please accept me, but if you
Mhm.
don't, I'm not interested in shallow relationships anymore if we're going to be this quote unquote level of friends.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I've somebody who's fell from grace. I talk about it way too much, but it's a good example. I had friends that, they did that proverbial, I don't care whatever happens, bro. We're friends forever. I'll
Forever.
take a bullet
Mhm.
for you, that just completely walked away and have done similar things than I did.
Mhm.
Right. But they had that level of judgment. And I don't blame them. I think at the time I was kind of upset about it, but it's like a good thing to weed out
Who your friends,
who your
yeah,
friends
really
really
are.
are, right?
Mhm.
And so shame is that thing where you're afraid that if people knew the truth, they would judge you.
Mhm.
Now here's the question before we jump into this. Is it worse to suffer the effects of shame at a high level or is it worse to experience judgment from other people?
Why
See,
did you have to say that? I would say option B.
well, I
A is
I
shame.
think most people would
B.
say what you're saying. I don't think you're giving me the wrong. There's no right or wrong, but I think that if I had to be honest with you, in the short term, you're dead right, but in the long term, you might be dead wrong. Because if I experience judgment, it's temporal. I figure out if these are my people or not, and then I can move on. And the good thing about judgment is they might hate you for a week or two or 10, but then the next person to judge comes along and you're forgotten. Plus, you've distanced yourself. But shame is internal. So like I look at judgment like a wound on your skin. It might need some stitches and there might be a scar, but it's on the outside. Shame is internal, like a cancer. Most people don't know they have cancer until it's kind of late in the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But we in society have this fear of judgment. Those who have been harshly judged because something they did, they kind of learn a skill. And it is called, I don't care anymore. And
I think that's what I have, because I
Yeah.
really don't care. Like, you're not going to judge me. Only one person can judge me.
Nice.
And I'm okay with that. Like, I've not always been that way, but maybe my mid 30s is kind of when life starts making sense. 40s, most definitely. You should most definitely have it by your 40s.
Well, hopefully. Right?
Yeah, hopefully.
And so we're not being hypocrites because because I'm sure there's one or two things that Melissa would not want to be judged on, and there's a million that I probably wouldn't want to be judged on. But you get to the point where, like, if I have to be judged or I have to suffer from shame, if there comes a time where I have to pick between one or the other, I'm going to pick the judgment. Now, some people would say, well, once you experience the judgment, then the shame increases. But I would say that if you're not careful, there's a thinking error there. Because you were ashamed because you were afraid of being judged.
Yeah.
Now you're being judged. You've lived that. Why would you go back to shame? Your very worst fear just came true. And,
just face it.
Like, this too shall pass, right? Now, if you're afraid that the judgment is going to cause you like some sort of legal trouble or something like that, that's not really shame. That's a fear of consequences. That's not a fear of, that's not suffering of shame.
Right. Yeah.
That's a different thing. So I just want to clarify all these terms, and they'll kind of tie into tonight's letter. But again, we're trying to teach concepts here. And so, like, just imagine in the perfect world, right? We would kind of have no fear of judgment. We would be our true selves, and you would quickly find that you would find your people, and that you would be okay that not everybody is your people. And it takes us a long time. I think you said to your 40s, but other people in different avenues, to realize that not everybody has to like you. And people are going to judge you even if you're the best person in the world. I would go as far as to say the better of a person you are, the harsher.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
People are going to judge you.
All the time.
People love when you're down on their level.
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
It makes me so mad.
And so if a woman's pretty, she's judged by ugly women. And I mean that, objectively, of course,
right,
like, yeah. I mean, subjectively, of course, who knows what that means, but maybe would be judged harsher by other pretty women, because then it's a competition, right? So you just got to be yourself. This is how I look. This is the way I like to look. And if you like me, you don't.
I had this lady tell me at work one time, I was probably maybe my mid 20s, early 20s. And she just pulled me aside and said, we all hate you because you're so pretty and your body, she said, your clothes fits like you're a mannequin. You know how you go in the stores and you see the mannequins and it
Uh-huh.
just fits just right. That's what she said to me. And I said, okay, well, she's like, but I really like you. I think you're a nice person, but we just don't like you just because, you're in good. But I was a runner then.
Yeah.
ran all the time. I care about my appearance to myself, not
Mhm.
necessarily other people. I just have always wanted to be healthy as I got older, in life. And I stopped running like in my 30s because I started having problems with one of my knees, but
Mhm.
because I want to save my hips and knees for my 60s. But like that was crazy. It hurt my feelings and it isolated me from them after she told me that.
Mhm.
Just kind of made me feel kind of like, God, who could say that to
And that's a
someone?
woman thing.
Right.
Like, men judge each other on way different things than that, but it
Mhm.
still exists. It's just different.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, it hurts your feelings and you have to be honest about it. But the more you have those episodes and the more you go through life, you start to realize there's nothing I could
Can
have
do.
done.
Mhm.
Right. And let me transition here. The same thing applies if you made a mistake.
Mhm.
I can't say there's nothing I could have done because yes, you could have done something different, but there's nothing you can do from here forward.
Mhm.
That has to become the past. Now watch this. People always use this phrase like, if I could only go back knowing what I know now. Well, you can right now.
Mhm.
Knowing what you know now, you can go from here forward.
Mhm.
In your mind, you're thinking, if I can only go back to when I was 18, well, why not just do it from
From
here
here.
forward?
Mhm.
And your mistakes, your sins, all
Mhm.
of those should fuel you becoming a better person. There's just an illusion that shame brings you, that I have to go back and fix this or I'm never going to be okay. And then
Mhm.
reality says, well, you can't go back and fix it. So therefore, I'll never be okay. And the
Mhm.
reality of it is you can be okay right now.
Mhm.
Learning from the past is beautiful. Living in the past is called depression.
Right. Yep.
And so shame becomes depression, becomes
Mhm.
all kinds of problems, right?
Mhm.
Now, we are in a place where, in this podcast, where hopefully those of you who've been around for a while are starting to understand really what we're doing here. And we're
Mhm.
trying to create a model that you just don't see anywhere else, because real people are really hurting
Mhm.
in this world with no place to go.
Mhm.
And as we get into tonight's letter, I just want you to understand that there's something cathartic about writing a weird new podcast and talking about it. But the deeper parts of this come when you understand that this is a person who has made a mistake, a sin, so on and so forth, whatever you want
Right.
to call it.
Mhm.
And it's been a while and he's struggling, but he's also taking this step because I think you listen to an episode and you hear somebody else and you're like, wait a minute, I can do that.
Mhm.
Is that going to be helpful? And so what I'm asking is that if you're reading these or hearing these with us, excuse me, what's your story? It
Mhm.
might be time for you to put shame aside
Mhm.
and find healing. And this letter
Mhm.
is from somebody named Isaiah. Didn't give us a last name, but it's a good one. So let's jump into it here.
Okay.
He says, Anthony and Melissa, I recently found your podcast and I knew I had to write in. I believe I discovered this program at the perfect time in my life. I am so full of shame that I struggle to function most days. I really need some help. So
Just like what
if
you
you were
just
wondering, why is
said.
this guy rambling at the beginning of this podcast? For that very first sentence
Said,
right there,
mhm.
it's making the point that he's being honest, saying, I struggle with shame so much that I can't function.
Mhm.
Some of you will say, well, I have shame, but not that bad. Don't get cocky because his
Mhm.
wasn't that bad at first.
Then
It
yeah.
will only get worse if it's not addressed.
Mhm.
Back to the letter. He says, let me back up. My name is Isaiah and I'm in my 40s. I will not give my last name because I would hate for someone I know to find my story. Let me pause there again. I love the honesty of the letter, but everybody he knows already knows the story. You see how shame
Pretty
is
much,
it's
yeah.
insidious.
Mhm.
Who cares? This might be better if the people who know you heard the story because they might know you're remorseful.
Mhm.
But it's still that
Still
fear,
fear.
right? Not picking on you, Isaiah. Not picking on you because we know exactly what you're saying. But if
Yeah.
people I know might find out my story, everybody you know knows the story. They've all talked about it. They've all judged it. They've decided whether they're going to be on your side or not. That's what shame does to somebody. It
Mhm.
creates an illusion of reality that's not actually real.
Or if he's moved on and still kind of like the new people in his life doesn't know.
Possible. So let's jump into this letter again. This is assuming you choose to use this on your show. I recently became divorced after 11 years due to an affair that I had about 18 months ago. I can't believe how fast my life has deteriorated in a short period of time. I destroyed my family. Love the honesty.
Mm-hmm.
It's just raw, it's real, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Why paint a pretty picture? Because it's not. He says, my ex-wife hates my guts. My 3 children are still struggling with the damage that I caused. Even after all this time, they are still distant. Ouch.
Yeah. 18 months is not
Yeah.
that long.
And little
And it
kids.
depends on the age. If he's 40, so they're probably young teens or under.
Yeah. So
think.
yeah, they're kids take it hard when
Their
stuff like
life
this
changed.
happens.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The sad thing is that I have no one to blame but myself. My ex-wife is an amazing woman. She was very good to me. I actually had a great life. That is what makes this so hard. I still can't believe I chose to blow all that up. My story is far from unique. Like many idiots before me, I chose to have an affair with a woman at work. I love his language. I chose.
Mm-hmm.
Almost wonder if he's gone to therapy because
Mm-hmm.
that's they teach you to own your choices,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not be a victim of your own behavior. Back to the letter. This is a woman who I knew for about a year. We worked very closely together, so we spent about 6 hours a day working side by side. That is a recipe for disaster if you don't have boundaries. I had no boundaries. Let me stop there. Absolutely 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
Working side by side with a member of the opposite sex, even if there's not an immediate physical attraction, is going to lead to a personal attraction, a relational attraction.
Mm-hmm.
You become bonded. And a lot of people don't stop and think about this, but you could be married to somebody, but you don't spend 6 hours side by side
Every day, 5 days
every
a week.
day.
Yeah.
You might spend a couple hours on the couch watching TV,
TV.
maybe 45 minutes eating dinner, maybe even laying in bed for 30 minutes talking about your day, but it isn't 6 hours side by side. It is a recipe for disaster if you don't have boundaries. Love the way that was worded. He says, after about a year of spending all that time together, we started flirting and entertaining having an affair. She knew I was married and said that she just wanted to have a fling. I know you won't believe me, but I said no many times before I said yes. I believe you.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a whittling down. I mean, if you're somebody who had the affair the first day you met this woman, you should have never been married. This is not, I believe it's a spiritual battle.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's a whittling down of your morals, your defenses, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not playing victim here. I should have said no and then shut it down completely. Instead, I said no, but kept up the flirting and the attraction took over. We finally decided to have a one-time interaction. As you can imagine, that didn't last. Soon it became a once-a-week thing. After about 6 months of this, things took a turn for the worse. Actually, it became a nightmare. This is where it
Mm-hmm.
gets pretty crazy here. She, meaning the woman, began to ask me to leave my wife and start a new life with her. When I told her that we had agreed to keep it casual, she became angry. That anger soon turned into vindictiveness. She threatened to call my wife if I didn't choose her. I decided to call her bluff. I lost that game.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch. She called my wife and gave enough details to show that the affair was real. The hardest part is that my wife was always concerned about how much time I spent with this woman. And again,
Yep.
women have good intuition, but even if not, you're like, you talk about her more, you spend all this time with her. Women, anybody, you start picking up on, hey,
Mm-hmm.
is this something more?
Mm-hmm.
He says, so I had always minimized her feelings. It was the worst day of my life. I bet it was. I bet you can
Oh.
almost feel the emotions, the fear, the oh no, like she really did call her. I'm busted. Like, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Um, he says, my wife was done instantly. There
Mm-hmm.
was no working it out. I was forced to move out immediately. And I'm gonna just assume here, I would imagine that if it would have been a one-time thing, the wife probably wouldn't have been as prone to be done instantly. But I'll bet you after she talked to that other woman and got all
Oh,
the
the
details,
details in 6 months,
there
and
was no
especially the coworker.
yeah, there was no coming back, right? Because
Oh
he had
yeah.
lied all these times and that
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. She, meaning his wife, told her family, and her father called and threatened to kick my ass. He told me to stay away and not even try to reconcile. I honored their wishes. So she had a close family. They were protective of her. It was done.
Mm-hmm.
It was a done deal. Within 4 months, I was divorced and have visitation with my children every other weekend. I live in a small little house and barely exist. I live for the weekends that I have my kids, but they are so sad when they come to see me. God, that breaks my heart.
Oh.
I pay a large child support payment and then live off the rest. So I can't always do the fun things that weekend dads do. I just try to make the best of it, but I live with a huge amount of shame and regret. Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a day that goes by where I don't ask, what was I thinking? I will probably never know. And you might not, but maybe you will. We'll talk about that in a second. I guess the lesson is that lust is never equivalent to love. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
I gave up a life I didn't deserve for a temporary experience. What a fool. I am sure you're wondering what happened to the woman I had an affair with. We kind of are. I mean, we are
Yeah.
voyeurs in this thing. I was lucky that shortly after she called my wife, she also told my boss. When he didn't fire me, she lost it. She made such a scene that they fired her. When I say she made a scene, she went into a full blown psychotic episode, including threats and destruction of property. They actually had to call the cops and have her removed. As you can imagine, that makes this worse because I gave up a good life for a crazy person. How
Mm.
did I not see that coming? In hindsight, I saw the signs. I was just overcome with lust. Anyway, I would love to hear what you both have to say. I'm open to feedback and even some criticism. I know that getting this off my chest will help, but if you have some guidance, I would appreciate it. And he signed it Heartbroken,
Aw.
Isaiah.
Well,
What do you think?
what do you think?
I have a couple of things I want to address.
I mean, I don't think we should beat him up. He
Oh, we're
explained
not gonna.
everything, and what's done is done. And unfortunately, it's the price he had to pay. Like some women can forgive their spouses, or just spouses in general, men and women, due to affairs. I guess it depends on circumstances and
Yeah,
things like that,
absolutely.
and who it was, and how long it was, and things like that, or what was going on in the marriage. But when it's just out of the blue,
Mhm.
I mean, I've experienced that. You know, my
Mhm.
ex-husband cheated on me,
Mhm.
and I stayed with him for a while.
I
It's
mean, you
hard. It's hard. It's even for the woman. I mean, she feels shame because it was done to her. You know,
Mhm.
the shame of your husband cheating on you with a coworker, and everyone finding out if you're going to Christmas parties at work and office events and things like that. And now he still has to deal with the other coworkers. So
Mhm.
that's going to be like hard for him as well. But I'm glad that he didn't lose his job
Yeah,
on top of
that could have
everything
been way
else.
worse because then, I mean, he's barely making it now, it sounds like.
Yeah. So.
Let me cut in with something you just said there real quick that I think is important for the audience to hear too. There is a difference between the word and the emotion called embarrassment and the
Mhm.
emotion called shame. But in our language, we make them very synonymous.
Mhm.
So I don't know if his ex wife feels shame, but she shouldn't. She
Right.
should
Right.
feel
Yeah. You're right.
embarrassment. I'm not saying she
Embarrassed. No.
doesn't.
Mhm.
She should be embarrassed
You're right about the shame part.
because their
Yeah.
family secrets were exposed.
Mhm.
But if she's not careful, she will experience shame, which is what we talk about on this podcast, which is you're feeling shame for something you didn't even
They
do. You
do.
were a good wife. You treated
Mhm.
your husband with respect. You did everything you were supposed to do. He even admits it.
Mhm.
And so, but that's what shame will do. It's insidious. I'm
Mhm.
telling you,
Right.
it's a spirit that infiltrates your life to destroy you. That's what I believe.
Mhm.
And so, yes, so the embarrassment of it. And a lot of times we have to learn to understand emotions. Uh, I've spent a lot of time in my career as a therapist teaching people just names of emotions, and especially men. Like men,
Mhm.
I used to say, you have glad, sad, and mad. That's
That's
all
all you
you
get.
have. You don't know any other emotions. And so anytime you feel some unwanted emotion,
You're like.
you either make a joke to laugh, there's the glad.
Mhm.
You get sad for about 10 minutes until your friends tell you to suck it up,
Mhm.
or then you get mad. And mad is probably the most acceptable emotion for a man.
Mhm.
And so what happened? My wife cheated on me. So what'd you do? I beat him up. That's not your emotion. You weren't mad. You were
Mhm.
betrayed.
Mhm.
You were overwhelmed. You felt helpless. You felt insecure. Guys don't know those words. They don't even know how to spell those words. So I
Oh
just
yeah.
got mad.
Mad.
But
Mhm.
you believe it or not, there are a lot of women that although they may know a lot of the emotion words,
Mhm.
they mix them up.
Mhm.
And our language, think about like the English language, I've always said this is the most difficult. I think most people would agree if they even have remotely tried to study another language. English is the hardest
Mhm.
because what does the word break mean? Is it a in
Your
between your work shifts? Is it the
the
thing that
card
stops your car?
cars.
Like is spelled different, pronounced the same, means different. It's very complicated.
Mhm.
But one of the things that makes it complicated is that we say things that don't grammatically make sense. Like I am mad. No, I am Anthony. I feel anger.
Mhm.
Right? But when you say to yourself, I am anger, you almost teach yourself to adopt the persona of anger.
Mm. Okay.
Like, I am hungry. No, I am Anthony. I have hunger. And if you don't believe me, look at other languages. They don't say I am hungry in other languages. They
Mhm.
say I have hunger. I have anger.
Mhm.
I have sadness. And so we teach ourselves to personify our emotions. And
Mhm.
to get back to what I was saying, women are very good at that. Watch it. I'll tell you this. I felt like going over there and punching him in the face. That's not a feeling. That's a description of a behavior. But why do we say I feel? I felt like shopping today.
Mhm.
That's not a feeling. I feel bored, so I'm going to go shopping is how it should be spoken. But women do that all the time. I feel followed by a sentence, not a word. I feel, it should be a word. But women say, I feel like I'm going to go over to her house and tell her this. And I feel like if she says something back, you're not identifying the feeling, right? So men glad, sad, and mad. Women don't know how to even identify the feeling either. They just might know all the words. And that's stereotypical. You can find a man that knows all the words, and you can find a woman that's mad, sad, and glad. But for the most part, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, I want to get back to kind of what we're talking about here. But when you said that, it was one of the things I wanted to cover is the emotions that you are feeling, Isaiah, are not shame. But we say, I feel ashamed. Now, this might be controversial. I was a therapist for a long time. I kind of have some theories of my own. Some of you other therapy people might disagree with me. I don't believe shame is a feeling. I believe we classify it as that, but I believe shame is a state of being. But when we call it a feeling, it's almost like it becomes acceptable in the repertoire of feelings. All other feelings are acceptable because you feel what you feel, right? They're like anger is not good or bad. What we do with our anger becomes good or bad. Anger, by the way, is not a primary emotion. Anger is a secondary or tertiary emotion because we don't know what to do with the primary emotion. Shame is not that. Shame is a state of being. Shame is what happens when you don't know what to do with your emotions. Just like violence is a state of being that or a behavior that when you don't know what to do with your emotions. It's just more internal.
Right.
So if I don't know what to do with my emotions and I act out in violence, if I don't know what to do with my emotions and I act out in violence internally, that's shame. Right? I'm beating myself up. Is this making sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
So one of the things that he said is, what was I thinking? Now, I think we all know what he was thinking. I kind of find her attractive. She says this is casual. I can get away with this. There won't be,
no one to find out. It's all fun. It's exciting.
What I want to challenge the listeners on is that what he is saying is that in hindsight, I can look back and see this is a big mistake. So we just have that phrase in our vernacular. What was I thinking? You weren't thinking, is what some people would say, but it's much deeper than that. Again, I just challenge the listeners, especially for the non-believers. This is one of those things where people ask me, well, why do you believe that these spiritual entities exist and God and the devil? Because of things like this. What could take a rational, smart, moralistic human being and make them destroy their family for some cheap sex? And people will say, well, that's human nature. I believe that if you believe that human nature is inherently evil and that we need a God to save us from that. People hate that, man. Christians too hate it. You were born with a sin nature, whether you like it or not. The Bible tells you. That's why Jesus had to be born of a virgin, because the seed of man is corrupted. So yes, I believe that. But what I'm saying is this is a spiritual battle, Isaiah. I don't know if you're a believer or not. You put no Christian language in here, but you also didn't say that you weren't a Christian. You seem through your discussion here that you're a pretty moralistic guy. You wrestled with this decision, so you were fighting this fight. And to me, that's a spiritual battle. And so I'm going to kind of maybe try to lure in maybe some of the Christian folks that listen, or non-religious folks even. I don't know which way we want to word that, because there might be other faiths. But this is how I know that they're spiritual battles. And you might have heard me say this before, and maybe it's too simplistic, but I want you to think about it. There's voices in your head, right? Not the schizophrenic ones, but I mean, maybe it's all tied in. I don't know. But there's we used to say the little devil and angel on your shoulders. I always think of the cartoon Tom and Jerry, right? Where they had the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other, the little fork tail or little pitchfork and the pointed tail. That's what some people would say. So let's say, for example, I find a wad of cash out here by the pool. And we have a community pool here. We live in a kind of a condo complex here. So community pool, I'm walking the dog. I see a wad of cash, right? There's not a human on earth that doesn't know that that's not your money. Find the owner and give it back to
keepers.
There's that. Now, finders keepers comes from the guy with the pointy tail and the pitchfork, right?
Right.
So there's your moral dilemma. It's pretty easy to tell the voices. Now, the voice that's debating, you know your own voice. So your own voice, depending on who you are, is more easily lured to one side or the other. If you are a very moralistic person, you have a ton of empathy, you are a rule follower, you are somebody who believes in law and order, your gut instinct is going to say, I need to find the owner. If you're somebody who's a little shady, you're a little, kind of, I'm a rule breaker. I can follow rules, but I'm going to walk the line. As long as I'm not hurting nobody, I'm cool with what I do. You're probably going to lean towards keeping the money. That's you. So your voice is the one going, I know what I should do, but the word but, that's the other voice. That's the spiritual voice that is trying to get you to do the wrong thing. You might also hear another voice that says, you know what the right thing is. And therein lies the spiritual battle of human beings, right? Money is the easiest one for you to see because, the good voice is saying, trust me, I know you could probably use this money, but doing the right thing has no consequences and you will live a better life. The other voice is saying, you know, you could really use that money. Finders keepers. If this person really wanted this, they would have already come back looking for this. And it'll literally start talking you into every reason why you're doing this.
Yeah.
Now, I have actually seen in different, TV shows and stuff where they will set people up to see what they do. And you watch people. It is the craziest thing. I saw one where they put like a wallet on a table and
oh yeah, people open the wallet, take the money out and leave the wallet.
or you see if there's like $10 in there, the moral dilemma isn't very big. They like hold it up and they, is anybody missing a wallet? But if there's a wad of cash in there, that debate internally becomes more, it's harder. That's the spiritual battle within people. You can choose to believe that or not. That's what we believe. But I'm trying to lure you in to understand this because I'm trying to answer Isaiah's question.
And you also have to be careful with people because they have different agendas. Like you have, some people that are single. It sounds like the other woman was single. And so if she sees that you're a really good guy, just a very nice person, loves his family, has, kids, a good home, they get jealous of that and they want to break your family up. They want what she has.
Sure.
And so she's going to flirt with you even more, do things like that to get you into the situation that you're in. And then most times I have brothers, I've seen it. They don't even want you or you don't want them. It's just that that fling that could just destroy everything.
I like what you're saying there because there's a lot of factors that go in. If you take what I was saying, her her leanings, so instead of the money, put a man at work that I want to hook up with.
Hmm.
Her leanings are going to be like, let me talk him into cheating with me.
So I can get the house and I can
Yeah.
get the car and I
Or
can get the
or
kids.
maybe
Thank
just
God she didn't get pregnant. Oh,
maybe
Jesus.
just for the lust of it. Don't take it that far.
Mm-hmm.
We probably know this woman's motives, but speaking in general,
Mm-hmm.
she may not have thought that far.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just whatever her leanings, she might have, in some cases, the woman may also be struggling too. Let's like
Mm-hmm.
make this more general before we make it specific. In this case, it looks like this woman had a motive.
Mm-hmm.
But in affairs in general, both people could be struggling.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting your needs met at home. She's not getting her needs met at home. You're both saying no, but you're feeling yes. And so that's the spiritual battle there.
Mm-hmm.
This woman probably has already succumbed to her spiritual battle, and now she's trying to lure you over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this, not to make an excuse for you, Isaiah, but there's a thing in this world called borderline personality disorder. It's different in women than it is in men.
Mm-hmm.
When it's in men, it usually kind of is what's called king baby syndrome. They always get their way. They throw tantrums. They, will become real dramatic to get you to bend and give them their way. You could look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Women borderline, they made a movie about called Fatal Attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And, she hooks up with you in an elevator, then she acts like it's no big deal, then she wants to be with you, you act like it's no big deal, she's cooking rabbits on your stove. It's a crazy movie if you've never seen it. It's older for some of you younger listeners, but it perfectly depicts a borderline personality disorder. Ruined this man's life. And it's his fault for doing this. But if you don't recognize that these people are out there
Mm-hmm.
and you're not being selective with who you quote unquote hook up with, date, or whatever, I am a pretty highly trained therapist. I'll say this very confidently. If not the worst thing, in the top 3 worst things you can have is borderline personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely debilitating. It's marked by kind of a push-pull in all of your relationships, real hot and cold. You want me, I'll push you away. You don't want me anymore, I'm going to do everything I can to get you back. They're very charismatic, kind of lustfully attractive. They'll lure you in. They're very sexual. They're very enticing, very kind of risk-taking, dangerous type people. They're fun as hell.
Right.
Until you realize what they are. And then when you try to walk away, they are going to wreak havoc.
Mm-hmm.
They are suicidal. So they won't just claim that they're going to hurt themselves if you leave them. They'll actually make an attempt.
Mm-hmm.
And so they will turn your life upside down.
Oh, yeah.
And so more than likely what happened here, Isaiah. So what were you thinking? I want to make sure I beat that home because we kind of went on a trail there a little bit. You were thinking what's right and wrong. And I believe the spiritual war that happens with all humans for your soul was also being fought at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Might be why you lost. Not making an excuse for you because you had to make the ultimate decision, but it may help you to understand that same spiritual battle that was trying to destroy you then is now trying to destroy you through the shame. So it lures you and then mocks you in your shame.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe demons do.
Beat down.
Yeah. And it won't relent until you learn to let the past be the past. It's hard, man. If you lost a good marriage, that's hard. It's going to take some time. 18 months, like Melissa was saying, is not that long.
Mm-hmm.
That phrase, time heals, is only true when you're working on yourself. If not, time is your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I may be making an assumption, and you can always reach back out to me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you've done some therapy because the way you talk, you've owned your stuff. Yeah. And it usually takes men especially a while because we always, in our language, we blame other people, but he's owned every ounce of this. Or maybe it's just, he saw the light very quickly once
And that seemed
everything
like
was
that would
exposed.
help his relationship with his kids, because he's able to uh, acknowledge his responsibility or accept, his part of it. He's not, oh, it was her fault, her fault, her fault, or the ex-wife's fault because of blah, blah, blah. So I think that will help his communication with his kids moving forward, right?
I think
Don't you
so.
think?
Yeah, I do. I think, yeah, the more he learns to,
Because he can
speak to
explain it
them in
better.
that way and they
Yeah.
ask him questions, because he'll get to a time where if he hasn't already, he'll have to kind of explain it to him. And when they hear him own his behavior,
Mm-hmm.
it'll hurt, but it'll teach them that when you make a mistake, you own your behavior, and that it'll teach them that dad is not still dangerous in terms of emotionally
Mm-hmm.
wounding us,
Mm-hmm.
versus, well, your mom was partially to blame, and when you get lonely and your spouse isn't meeting your needs, then sometimes these things happen. Well, not only are you basically bashing their mom, but you're teaching them that when their marriage is bad, that just cheat.
Mm-hmm.
And
Not to.
like,
Yeah.
he seems like he is able to take from here forward and become the better person.
Mm-hmm.
There's a phrase that they say in the sobriety rooms, which is do the next right thing.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do the last right thing, because every choice is the right thing and the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do the last right thing, but now do the next right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that sounds like what he's doing. And so it's just really a battle of how you deal with shame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you asked us here, how kind of do you get over the fact that you threw away a good life? Well, I'm going to tell you this, and it's probably not time yet, but you can move forward from here going forward, knowing what you know now.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are ready and you meet somebody else, you cherish that
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a second chance at life.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us who have been divorced, I'll tell you right now, straight up, I've made some big mistakes in my life. This is the best person that I'm sitting in front of in this microphone for me. There were times where I thought I should just be alone because I'm an
Mm-hmm.
idiot. And God has brought the right person into my life. I'm happier than I've ever been. And more fulfilled than I've ever been because of the mistakes I made.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so listen to what we're saying, Isaiah. Like, you have the ability now. You're still healing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get into something too quick. Get your healing done. And when you find somebody, you'll be a good husband, which you were. But that boundaries thing you talked
Oh,
about,
yeah.
you'll be the boundary guy. They'll
Oh,
be like,
yeah.
hey, Isaiah, we're going to put this woman with you on your work team. No, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work with women anymore. And if you're still at the same job, the boss is probably like, we're not doing that again anyway. But put me
Get what
with
you're saying.
put me
Yeah.
with Joe. Me and
Mm-hmm.
Joe will be a team.
Mm-hmm.
Let that woman go somewhere else. I
Mm-hmm.
won't do it. If you're at the gym, you're a married guy, you're at the gym, you see somebody attractive, you normally go at 6 o'clock in the morning, go at 5, leave when she gets there at 6. You'll learn those boundaries, because every time you think about doing something like this again, the imagery of what happened
Mm-hmm.
will pop right in your head. I don't know how good the sex was. I don't know if that's too bold to say, but it wasn't worth all this, right? And so, how good could sex be to destroy a marriage?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
we aren't thinking clearly when they're in those moments. But if you let this become a lesson, you will be thinking clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Do I really love this woman I'm lusting over? Nope. What does lust lead to? I'll tell you what lust leads to: chaos, catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
It does not lead to anything good.
Mm-hmm.
We can get into a moral battle of, what sex is supposed to be versus what it's not. That's another time. I don't want you to start calling me religious zealots, but I will say this, prove me wrong that if something is completely and utterly lustful, it's not fulfilling. long term. It's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you're after, fine. But if you're after that while you're in a committed relationship, I could tell you how that ends.
Mm-hmm.
I've sat in front of so many couples,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 100, close to it, if not over. Let's put
Mm-hmm.
it that way. And I've just heard the stories, and some of them tried to make a run of it. Some of them I even know today, still now, decades later, that are still together, but their whole life is different than it was.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them have ended in catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time I'm sitting there as a therapist going, I wish I told people what to do, because I would just end this shit and quit paying me all this money. This is over, man.
Mm-hmm.
The wounds are too deep.
Mm-hmm.
The devil won.
Yeah, but you try.
You kind of hold out hope until they figure out they're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And, affairs are probably one of those things that wounds us more than anything in the world. And so I'm sure it hurt you, man, that you hurt the person you loved.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it hurt you that your kids were also involved in the aftermath. What you do with that from here forward is be the best guy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you a weird kind of metaphor. The best substance abuse counselors are former addicts.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they've been through that hell. They know how to walk you out. How did they get to that point? Because they understand that what addiction was and what it does. And then they become like so aware of how bad it is
Mm-hmm.
that they become like advocates for change, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can take that same logic and say, because I caused so much damage, I can now be a person who advocates for monogamy.
Mm-hmm.
And even before I have a wife, like you could be that friend. You're having drinks with your buddy and he's like, do you see that girl at the end of the bar? And you could be like, bro, I love you, dude. Call your wife and go home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can tell you how this ends. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you get yourself back. Let me kind of close with this.
That's true.
Let's close with this.
Mm-hmm.
People have asked me this question a zillion times. When you have shame, you have a behavior that you did, you were shamed by other people. There's this phrase people use called self-esteem. And your self-esteem is in the gutter, right? Like, you've been torn down. People call you every name in the book, because our esteem is usually in how other people see us. It's in what we do for a living. It's what we do in public that people see. So our esteem is based on how people receive us, which is kind of false, but that's just the truth of it, right? How do you gain your self-esteem back? And the answer to that is pretty simple. You do esteemable things. ABCs, right? You do things to build you back up, because that's when shame starts losing the battle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
So, like, what are esteemable things? Volunteer at a soup kitchen. Go volunteer at a church if you're a Christian person. Volunteer doing what? I don't know. Clean the bathrooms. Crazy story. I go to work at a church in Atlanta, Georgia. I had only been there maybe 3 weeks. And one day I walk into the bathrooms. It's on an off day. It's like during the day, there's no services, just maybe a handful of people in the church. And I see this guy in there cleaning the heck out of that bathroom, Melissa. I mean, I was like, no wonder these bathrooms are spotless. For public restrooms, even in a church, they can get bad. The bathrooms in this church were like, I mean, eat off the floor like Buc-ee's, right? And I was like, this is the guy. So I thanked him. He was just wearing a t-shirt, pair of cargo shorts, flip-flops. And I can remember going, he's wearing flip-flops, like he's going to get that dirty mop water on his feet. But I'm just grateful. I mean, he had sanitizer in the mop water. I'm watching him as I'm washing my hands, like preparing the mop water. So I go back to the office and I tell one of the pastors in there, I said, hey, do we do anything for that guy that cleans the bathrooms? He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, we need to give that dude a raise, or because I was new, I didn't know how it worked. Give him like an award, like I don't know,
gift
man.
card or something.
And they said, you don't know who that is? And I said, no, I don't. They were like, that guy is a TV. I won't say who it is. That guy is a TV producer. He produces 2 of the top 3 reality shows on TV. I said, what? I said, yeah. He's a multimillionaire. What's the next question out of my mouth? Why in the hell is he cleaning the bathrooms? Because he said it keeps him humble. Because this is why I always remember this, because his ego is so fluffed by so many people that he started to fall into the pattern of being the man, but his love of God was being compromised. So he said, I'm going to go do the most kind of lowly job and get my esteem from that. And I was like, wow. So he took it serious. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, I'm not that guy. I'm not that faithful to Jesus as that guy is. I learned from him in the concept, but I'm still not that humble. I mean, he wowed me, because you would never know, right? Those are the things I'm talking about, Isaiah. Become a guy that is so humble and such a good human being. If you're a person of faith, you can take it to that level of what this guy did. But even if you're not, you can understand what I'm saying. Be the best employee.
And he can do things with his kids too. Like he can volunteer. Like we just walking the dogs earlier, and there's like I wouldn't say if it's a community garden, but it's right by this retirement facility and like hospital, like a Alzheimer's type place or something like that. And oh my gosh, like there was probably 15 volunteers out there today, just help pull in the weeds. And, they got cabbage and corn and peppers and everything. Squash.
Melissa's going to go steal them.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, because she's the one that was going to keep the cash. She's going to go steal the vegetable. No, but you're right. Those people are doing that voluntarily to help this community garden. And what's the harm in putting your energy there instead of putting it into self-loathing, self-deprecation? Right. Get Isaiah, out of the house. What I'm saying is be the best dad you can be the best man you can be. Put your esteem in esteemable things. So yes, you might not have money to do stuff with your kids, but spend your time learning them. Sit them down and go, hey, I know this sucks, but we can only go from here. So I want you guys to tell me who you are. I feel like I've been so lost in my stuff. Let's get to know each other so I can be a better dad to you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Gonna make me cry.
Yeah. And when he can do stuff like that, then you'll start to see that shame starts losing the battle, because you can't fix what you did, but you can go from here forward knowing what you know. Knowing what you know now, your kids need you to be the best dad. If you get married again one day down the road, you'll know that. But everything else in your life. So let your boss go, man, you were always a good employee, but you're the best employee we've ever had. What happened? Let people ask that instead of going, man, Isaiah's just slipping. Like he's a shell of himself. Ever since. Yeah. And that's kind of how you do it. It's a battle either way. So you might as well fight the battle that's going to get you to the right place instead of just succumbing to the other battle. Because the other battle is gravity, right? Yep. Remember, in our belief system that the enemy wants to destroy you. It had a plan. It had a scheme. It isn't destroying you now in an isolated event. The scheme started before the affair. It probably started way back when. The affair was when it shot. Yep, it knocked you down. Are you going to get up or are you going to stay down? And I'm not trying to be a motivational speaker there, but I'm saying you're going to fight the battle either way. You might as well start today
and win the battle
as a new guy and win. Yeah.
For him, he deserves it.
And I believe you do. And more importantly, I believe you're a good guy. Again, if you're listening to this show, there are very good people that made very bad decisions. If you're a bad person that doesn't believe you did bad, we won't ever put you on the air. This podcast, we say it in the disclaimer.
Yeah.
if you're not serious about this, call us at a different time when you are. This podcast is for people like Isaiah who know they've blown it and just need a help up. Well, hopefully that helps. As always, we're available for you. If that didn't answer your questions or you want to run something else by us, you can always find us in the same place you send that email. And for those of you that are new, let's get to that. We just want to remind you that this program is written, produced, and hosted by us, Anthony and Melissa Corelli. This program is copyright The Struggle LLC. Always shout out to Todd Kazinka at Todd K Voiceovers. If you do have a story of your own, reach out to us at GracefortheUnlovable@gmail.com. If you want to find out more about us in general, go to thestruggleseries.com. And remember, healing comes when secrets are shared in safe spaces. So may God bless you and bring you peace. Good night.
Thanks for tuning in to the Grace for the Unlovable podcast. Please like, subscribe, and tell a friend. We will see you next time.